guys, welcome back here to Advanced Bass Fishing, and appreciate you guys coming by the channel and checking out today's episode. And guys, today we're going to be talking about the plastic worm that is probably my favorite worm to use that not very many people fish. I've been fishing this worm for probably, I'm going to guess, over 15 years now. It's from Zoom. This is an incredible fish catcher. If you gave me like the top 3 plastic worms to use out of every plastic worm I've ever used in 50 years of fishing, this would be one of my top 3 worms. So I'm going to give you guys some tips and advice on how to fish it and when it works good and rigging and all that type of stuff. So we'll get into it. And guys, we are going to be talking about the Zoom Ultra Vibe Speed Worm, not the Zoom Speed Worm. This is the Ultra Vibe Speed Worm right here. This is a freaking unbelievable worm. So I'm going to link this in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of this video. If you guys would like to pick up a few packs, using that link is a great way to support the channel and get you some baits here. But Ultra Vibe Speed Worm, that's the one you want there. And also guys, real quick, anybody interested in booking a private on the water lesson with me, all you got to do is go to my Facebook page, Intuitive Angling with Randy Blockett, shoot me a private message. And I do most of my lessons on Table Rock and Stockton Lake here in Missouri, cover any technique that you want to learn about, have a really good time on the water. So hope to hear from you guys there. Okay, here it is guys, Ultra Vibe Speed Worm. And I'll tell you how I found out about this. One of my best all-time friends I ever had, Rodney Schmolak, he fished the co-angler side with me for about 5 years. He was a co-angler on the FLW circuit, and we practiced together. We traveled together, practiced together, and I had never used the Ultra Vibe Speed Worm, but Rodney lived on Lake Eufaula in Alabama, and this was one of his key baits on Lake Eufaula, and he started practicing with me using this thing, and he would be whacking my butt out of the back of the boat, pitching and flipping this thing around, primarily in shallow water. So he got me using it many years ago, and guys, I've been using it for a long time, and it is without a doubt one of the best plastic worms you will ever use. Now, a couple of different reasons why on this. It's a 7-inch worm or so. You know, it's got the nice, just a typical round plastic worm profile. It's got the Ultra Vibe Speed tail on it. And the Speed Worm tail that you have on there, it has a super unique fall, and it pushes water unlike any other tail I've ever seen. You know, there's not very many tails that look like that, and there's just something about the way the thing falls and looks in the water. When it falls, it sort of vibrates half of the worm when it falls down. But guys, flipping and pitching this thing in and around shallow cover, it is definitely one of my top 5 pitching and flipping baits. You know, I've got a jig, a couple different creature baits I use. Ultra Vibe Speed Worm is going to be in the top 5. Just an incredible fish catcher. So what I want to do is I want to show you guys how I like to rig it, and I'm going to show you guys some of my favorite colors and sort of explain when I like to use each color, because this is a very color sensitive bait. One of the things that I learned from Rodney more than anything else was how critical the color was, because we had 5 or 6 different colors that we'd use, and Rodney would always go to the Ultra Vibe Speed Worm and he'd figure out the color that the fish wanted. So I have never seen a bait that is so color sensitive in terms of the soft plastic. Okay, first of all, the rigging on it. This bait fishes best. There's one slip sinker size that it works good on, and it's a 3/16. We've tried every single sinker size between 1/8 up to 1/2 ounce. And the way that the Ultra Vibe Speed Worm falls with a 3/16 ounce sinker, there's just something about it the fish really like. And I'm using a Gamakatsu straight shank G-Finesse hybrid worm hook. I'll link this in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description. This is the best worm hook there is on the market. And one of the things about it is this is pretty important, when you hook the worm in, guys, there's a seam on the Ultra Vibe Speed Worm, and the seam lines up perfectly with the bait, with the tail on the concave side, and you want to put the hook coming out on the concave side here, because it just gives the worm a lot better action. The tail wags a lot wider like that. So just coming through like that, and then I do hook it in the side, like I do most of my Texas rig worms. So you just skin hook it in the side like that. You'll get a lot better hookups than hooking it straight in there. So you got your typical Texas rig setup. That's how we fish it most all the time, on a 3/16. And then I'm using not most, all the time, I've got my Megabass Alkalies flipping stick, and usually I'm using probably 17 to 20 pound test Seaguar and Vizex fluorocarbon line. So that's my setup with it right there. Okay, now let's go over the colors, because this is one of the things I really wanted to get into in this video, is how color sensitive this is. Now, some of them are going to be pretty close, but I'm sort of going to go over the colors that have worked best for me overall. Now, the first one you can't go wrong with is the green pumpkin. And not most of the time, all the time that Rodney and I fish the Ultra Vibe Speed Worm, we always dye this tail chartreuse. And the amount of chartreuse that's on the tail has to do with the water visibility. The green pumpkin is going to be a good color anytime that water visibility is between, like, say, 1.5 feet up to about 4 feet of visibility. And if the water visibility is like closer to 1.5 feet, like in a dirty water situation, we're going to dip that whole tail. This whole tail is going to be chartreuse. And if the water visibility is like 4 feet, we're just going to put just a little bit of chartreuse on the end of it like that. But that green pumpkin it's got a wide range of water clarities that it works in. Now, close to that is going to be your watermelon. And one of the things about watermelon, you can see they're very similar as far as the colorations of it, but the watermelon is a little bit more translucent. And one of the things that surprises people about the watermelon is a watermelon holds dye better than a green pumpkin. So in other words, when you put green pumpkin chartreuse dye in a green pumpkin, it sort of turns it into like a baby poop green. But when you put chartreuse on a watermelon, it's a bright chartreuse. So the tail is actually more bright chartreuse on the watermelon. So you wouldn't think so, but the watermelon actually works better on the more stained water and the cloudy days. So if I'm fishing water visibility, again, between 1.5 feet to 4 feet, and it's cloudy out, I'll use the watermelon with the tail dyed chartreuse because it's a lot brighter. But these are the two in that zone there. It just depends on the sunlight condition with that. If there's only two colors you could buy, guys, this would be the two, the watermelon and the green pumpkin. Okay, the next one, this is one of our favorites we've caught tons on, is the red bug. Now, the red bug is a really good off-colored watercolor. If that water visibility is stained around 12 inches or so, or if it's like 1.5 feet visibility and it's dark and windy and cloudy and rainy or early in the morning, red bug is a really, really good color. It's a good dirty watercolor, not necessarily muddy, but just off-colored water. And, a lot of times, they'll want the green pumpkin with the chartreuse on it, but sometimes they want the red bug. Red bug has been really, really good for us as a general off-colored pitching and flipping color. And same with that is the June bug. June bug and red bug will go hand in hand. The thing that is different about the June bug versus the red bug is the red bug works really good around woods, like boat docks, stumps, laydowns, lay down trees in the water. And the June bug is a really good color around any type of aquatic vegetation. And we fished a lot of that. So if you're on a lake that's got lily pads or reeds or cattails or any type of shallow grass, that June bug is a really good color around vegetation in a lot of different water clarities. And then finally is the one we use some, but probably the least of anything, is solid black or black neon. And that would be in dirty water. This would be for water visibility of like 4 to 8 inches, dirty water. The black's gonna stand out a lot, really silhouette itself. Okay, now Texas rigging is the way to go, but another technique besides pitching and flipping that this thing works really good in is swimming it. I've caught a ton of fish putting it on a little bit lighter sinker, like an 1/8 ounce sinker, and swimming it over shallow cover, shallow grass, shallow woods. Just keep it like an inch under the surface. And this thing has got a real wide wag side to side. And it's a really good bait when those fish are in super, super shallow water and they want more of a reaction bait, like a horizontal retrieve, especially if you're around some type of shallow vegetation. I've done really good on this in Florida, just reeling it just under the surface. It just has a lot of action. It's really subtle. It's really unique. But anyway, guys, if you haven't tried it, man, get you a few packs. Again, I'll put that Tackle Warehouse link in the description. Zoom Ultra Vibe Speed Worm. Awesome bait, man. I've caught freaking tons of bass on it. So hope it helps you guys out.